Hey y'all, I'm Briss Sam.
Hello, my name's Deric McCabe.
Hi, I'm Levi Miller, and we're all here to explain more Beatles to you.
Now, you know John, Paul, George, and Ringo, but originally it was John, Paul, George, and two others. No Ringo, just the three and two others. And we are going to talk about these two other Beatles. Let's do this.
First, let's explain the fifth Beatle. The fifth Beatle was one of John Lennon's good friends in college. His name was Stuart Sutcliffe. And if I remember correctly, he was the one who decided to change the name from the Quarrymen to the Beatles.
That's right. So, John Lennon had Stuart playing bass for the Beatles.
Yep. But he actually really sucked at playing bass because he was more of a painter. But John kept him in because, well, they were friends.
Yeah. And from the looks of his picture, Stuart was handsome.
So when the Beatles went to Hamburg, Germany, Stuart stayed behind with his girlfriend Astrid Kircher,
as well as continued his education in painting.
And it might surprise you to know that while he was in Germany with Astrid, Stuart asked Astrid to cut his hair like their friend Klaus Vormann. And that's what inspired the Beatles to don the mop-top hairdo. But a year later, the most dreadful thing happened.
Dreadful is an understatement. We're gonna need to play the death march because this was a tragedy. Sadly, Stuart had an aneurysm, and he passed away.
And this is his grave. The grave of Stuart, and I believe his father.
So, after Stuart passed away, Paul McCartney took on bass, and the Fab Five became the Fab Four. But wait, they needed to do another change of musicians. Before Ringo, the Beatles drummer was Pete Best.
And how Pete Best was replaced, that's a different story.
Pete was the Beatles drummer for about 2.5 years.
And when the Beatles went to Germany, Paul, George, and Pete were all deported.
That's right, Levi. George was deported for being too young to perform in Germany, and Paul and Pete were deported for setting a condom on fire.
And then after they signed a record company with George Martin, there was talk that Pete wouldn't be good for the band because his drumming was a little too jazzy and a little too quiet.
And there's been a rumor for years that Pete was fired because Paul was jealous of him for his good looks. But that doesn't really wash because Paul was actually the first Beatle to decide that Pete should be in the band because he'd seen Pete performing in the Black Jacks.
And also in this picture, notice that Pete is the only Beatle that doesn't have a mop top. Pete actually avoided getting a haircut.
He might have avoided getting a mop top, but Pete is still a good-looking guy.
So the Beatles themselves really didn't want to betray Pete, so they left firing him to their manager, Brian Epstein.
So after Epstein fired Pete, they replaced him with Ringo. So naturally the Beatles were rough around the edges when they got their start.
But they still managed to become the greatest rock band of all time while hijinks ensued.
So thank you guys for watching. We hope you enjoyed. So if you want to see Deric and Levi explain the Beatles with me more in other videos, please let us know. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Bye!